from, bringing, opening up to the public about their issues, which is very damaging, you know. But today, it's quite a bit different. Even though it's not the best, we still have these tough religious, rules and a little bit of rigid rules, which makes certain individual empowered to sort of decide the fate of somebody. So we have to be very rigid, careful about these things. If you talk of religion in a fact, even if it's not a rigid rule, I believe that if religion is authority comes from God Almighty, then let God rule. Let God be God. Let God be in authority. Let him decide. Let God speak for you to hear. Let that person who is being charged have God, speaking, because God has got the ability to know the truth about whatever you are being charged of, without, any mistakes at all. But they know that somehow we realize in the book, somehow I read in the book of Genesis, where God was saying sorry for doing certain things. So in the side of Jehovah, I can see that Jehovah is even acknowledging to wrongdoing, that he felt, he hasn't done the right thing, or he didn't do the right thing, he didn't treat people well, God feeling sorry and all that, which tells you that it is not as you might think of God, the perfect God that you are thinking of. It's not being presented in the Bible. You can find out, you go to the Quran, there are issues that you will also realize that no, it is not the perfect and righteous, God that you are looking for, ordering for the death of other group of people, or somehow advising the death of other, innocent people, which, they are just for the mere fact that they are not into Islamic. It may be hard to take their life, or to change them, or to do all kinds of things to them. And you are thinking about it, and you're asking them, so who are you going to convert then? If you are not patient enough to sort of let people understand and convince them to become part of your institution and adapt them, and you are not so patient, you are so impatient, who are you going to convert? Because you are taking the lives of the very people that you have to convert to make them Muslims, or you have to convert to make them Christians. You are taking their lives. You've ordered for them, like the life become meaningless to you. Then how can you then in every way turn around and claim, you make them lose all their sense of pride, or somehow just for the fact that they have not given in to your belief. You have every right to take their life. So you ask myself, you're taking their life, take their life, but how do you intend to convert people? Because you're taking the lives of other people to threaten to sort of scare other people to become part of Islamic. Yet it did work, because most of the Islamic people today, their generations by which they have become Islamic, or they have become Christians, at some point were being threatened. There are a whole group of people, I'll say the whole generation of Christianity, all the religion that exists today, have gone through, I don't know much of the Buddhist side, but much of the Christian and Muslims, it was through harsh means that people converted into Christianity. And even the Jews that turned up to become Christians, it was through the fear of death. They were afraid that their life would be taken, most of them. During the Hitler war, during whatever, they had to give in. Even if they didn't want to become Christian, they have to become Christian. In the times of Islamic history, you can learn that Islam was one where, the leaders were now very tough, and they were practicing laws which was tough, and people were now scared that, wow, what is happening? In the name of God, they were doing all these things. And so people were frightened, and they turned up to become, people who in such a state, and they convert to become Christians or become Islamic people, do you think their faith is real? Their faith is not real. You're joking. The faith is not real. They have given birth to their children now. Quietly, they tell their children that, hey, you have to accept it and stay in how, if you want to live, you have to accept it quietly. And so you have children that have been born today who also pretend. Do you think a horse give birth to a cow? A cow give birth to a lizard? No. The true characters of those who were converted to become has given birth. Their generation of what we are, even those who were before me that gave birth to me, are now truly, because as time has passed, are now truly coming out to truly reveal their strength to sort of reject the very things that they took upon themselves without, willingly giving in. They willingly gave in, but true force that they took in, it wasn't true understanding or true pureness of heart that they had to accept whatever religion. So they did it through all that. So the rebirth of the generation that has come out of those who went through all those harsh and tough times during those religious rule has turned out to be, the children that are now fighting for their rights now, and it's being seen as a stubborn group of people. But the stubbornness have got a very good reason. I'm not saying we should encourage it, but it has got a reason. I mean, look, you go see how other human beings treat other human beings for the fact that they claim that you are not, in the right faith, or you're not doing the right thing based on this, and you are not believing our way of doing things. So that means, and even though your way of saying things, you are not justifiably convincing that person. But you're exercising your authority because you have the power to do so. Over the time, you have inherited that power, through whatever means. Doesn't make it, it's not necessarily through righteous means. You have been voted there, or your parents had to use play all sort of foul games, or some terrible things to attain all those grounds. And you are using that as a means to justify your terrible rule over other people, and sometimes your treatment over other people. I mean, it's simple and easy. It's religion. It's something to do with the divine God. That is what you point fingers and say it is divine God, a spirit. You can't see that spirit, and He has spoken through our fathers, and our fathers say, I mean, you are easily saying it, that spirit, if He's real, and He's really real, He had to be very material. I mean, he had to he had to be visibly there. He had to be materially there. He had to be visibly there to take up the mantle of the God that He is. He had to be there. I mean, if you merely say His spirit, I don't know how to compare you with that person who is worshiping an idol, or he has put an image there and is worshiping. You are no different from that person. At least that person has put an image there. He's looking at something and he's worshiping. But what you have not, your God, even though His spirit is not real to you, even if He's real, practically, I remember a brother of mine asking me, he says, all that you believe, what has materially come out of it? What is the positive thing that has come out of it? And he is right. And that is what I'm against. That is what my everyday struggle is about. That is what I'm proving to myself. I fight every day to challenge my own faith, challenge my own God, my own whatever claim, understanding I have. What about you? What about him? Because at the end of the day, he has been able to make something with his life. But at the end of the day, also, we should always remember, I know how he has made something with his life. I know what he went through. So I have to point it to him and tell him that, hey, you sweat for yourself. Your blood, you really, you made it a human effort. You did that. It wasn't your God that did it. It wasn't a divine God that was doing that. In fact, the God that you were explaining to me is the same God I also talk about. It's the same God everybody sometimes most people talk about. As long as you claim the same thing that you claim. And you still went through all that. And we know that the God that we were talking about, the capabilities and how He blesses people, we know all that. It is written clear. But that wasn't how He blessed you. So why can't you admit and acknowledge to the fact that you have done it on your own? That you are equally neglected like me, but because of your initial, what they call a foundation, you were able to sort of build your life in certain ways that it sort of enabled you to blend with society and be able to build something and do something for your life. That is the only credit that you have. But some people didn't have the opportunity or the chances that maybe others got. So they cannot rise. They cannot